Hey, I'm Ashley.
And I'm Karla with Pointe Realty. We have been talking a lot about different things in real estate, but I think today we kind of want to switch it up a little bit and have a little bit of fun and tell you about some of our personal horror stories in real estate.
Thank you for joining us today. So, like we had said, we are going to go over a few of our personal horror stories that we have experienced in real estate. This world's not a perfect place, and there's never a perfect transaction in the real estate process. So, I'm going to go first. The first one that I'm going to go over with you guys is a experience that I've had with closing, and it felt like we could never close because we were supposed to close on this date, and then there was a cloud on the title, and it didn't end up being a situation where the seller was at fault or the attorney was at fault. It was from years ago, another person at fault, and it just never got figured out. And so we had to deal with it, and closing didn't happen for
Weeks.
several weeks, if not several
It was
months.
a couple months.
Yeah.
2 months, yeah.
And of course, having a buyer that's super eager to move into a house, and then they're told, weeks and weeks and weeks later that, hey, yep, we can't close this date. We're going to have to amend it and move to another date. And just we kept having to push it because we were basically waiting on the title to clear and to process.
So I would say probably one of my worst stories is very similar. It was a delay in closing. It's not as bad now, but USDA, and we've talked about those before, they're government-backed loans, but they were really, really behind. And I don't know if it was just lack of staff or because I don't think at the time the market wasn't that busy, but we were supposed to close at the end of August. And I think we ended up closing at the end of January the next year. So It was one of those things. I think USDA was like 5 or 6 weeks behind. And I had the seller on that side of it. So the seller, of course, was like, I don't want to sell it to this person. Let's just relist it. But at that point, the market was so slow. I was worried by relisting it, we'd sit on the market waiting for a buyer for another 3 or 4 months. And it ended up really working out. And it just took a lot of patience. And my client was a total saint because most sellers would not have
I don't know if I would have been personally.
Yeah, I mean, she waited forever. But
Yeah.
appraisals were behind, USDA was behind, and then once it got submitted to USDA, we found out that the paperwork wasn't submitted correctly because something to do with her income. This was years ago, but it had come out, be fixed by the lender, and sent back to USDA, and was back in line. So luckily things are not like that, but that's just one of the things that we have to deal with. And my clients didn't see me every day on the phone calling USDA. What day are you working on? How far behind are you? They didn't see me trying to negotiate buyer's possession or anything like that. But those are all things that I had to do every day and keep up with. So what else you got?
Let's see, another good one. I have a really good one, actually. I was working with a buyer, and the seller agent was,
For whatever reason,
was out of the business. And we were in the middle of a transaction waiting to close, and literally the seller agent was no longer practicing real estate. So nobody was informed. The attorney wasn't informed. I wasn't informed. The only way that I figured it out was the assistant emailed me using a different business email, completely total different real estate business. And I reached out to her and I was like, hey, did you change firms? And where's the agent? I know you're the assistant, but why are you reaching out to me? And found out that that person was no longer practicing real estate. And, that's important information to know, because when you are at the closing table and you're having to sign your closing disclosures and go through all of that paperwork to close on a home, if you have 2 different real estate companies,
it can further delay it.
It can further delay it because all of that's got to match up. So that was quite an interesting experience. And a lot of that stuff is behind the scenes, that you don't want to stress out your clients with stuff that is literally not in your control. But, you know, real estate agents, we do a lot more behind the scenes than you think to take all of that stress and all that worry off your plate.
Yeah, definitely. And so kind of piggyback, well, actually, I'm trying to think of the best one. So we've all had like dogs in the house. I've been bit by a dog. I've been jumped on, showing up and the sellers are still there because they didn't realize that I was coming to show clients.
Out of the shower.
And very awkward. No matter how many times you schedule on showing time and they get a text and they confirm the appointment, sometimes somebody's still there. But yes. I will say, I think the one that takes the cake was several years ago. I had a listing and I can't remember what happened, but for whatever reason, the client wasn't in town. She didn't live there. And I went over to check on the property. And when I did, I couldn't get in. Now, this was a vacant house and I couldn't get in. And so I called the police because someone or something had blocked the door. Well, the police officer meets me over there and he just basically shoves his way because I can unlock the door because I have a key, but I can't get the door open. So he shoves his way in the house. We get in, there's people there, they're running a generator. They've used the washing machine or dryer or something to block that door.
Oh.
We found a gun in a holster. It was crazy. So anyways, so clearly someone's living there. We lock it back up. I have to call my client. Somebody's living in your house. You know, I was here a week ago checking on it. Nobody was here. And it turns out one of her children had rented it for cash to somebody and didn't tell her. And all I can think is, you know, if I had rented a place and then like a lady and a officer like bust in the door and I think I've paid for it, which obviously they had a generator and they had a tank of potable water. So they knew they probably shouldn't have been there, but still, how dangerous of a situation was that?
Yeah.
And of course, you don't think about it till like the next day
after
or that night. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was probably, when it comes to danger, there have certainly been situations where I think we've both felt uncomfortable, but that was probably, I would think, kind of just the craziest, most uncomfortable, bizarre, unsettling
Or when
situation.
you have to call the sellers up because you open a house to show a buyer property and the kitty cat escapes.
Oh, the cat escapes. Please put your cat up.
Yeah, because
Please
cats,
put your
like,
cat
that's
up.
what they do. They hide and then they like to pop out of nowhere and then escape. And then you're like, oh no,
Now I've got to choose a cat.
Yeah.
In heels, because I'm probably going to be wearing heels.
The heels are going to be flying off.
So anyways, those are just a few of the things that we deal with. We have lots of stories, and the more you're in the business, the more stories you have. But just kind of off the cuff today, we want to do something a little more fun, not get so in the weeds with the boring things. But we hope you enjoyed it. We've got a lot more stories, so maybe we'll do this again, maybe close to Halloween. We'll do it again.
That'll be perfect timing.
So,
thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to be notified of our new videos every week. Also, follow us on our social media or head to our website at www.newpointrealty.com. Thank you for watching this week's video with New Point Realty,
where house meets home.